welcome to our final day of mindfulness trainings, Mindfulness 101. Today, we're going to be talking about mindfulness of emotions, which is really important because as we go through life, there's a lot of things that come up, and oftentimes we relate to our more positive emotions with better. We prefer to feel happy and calm and all of those good things, and life doesn't allow for that to be our feeling and experience 24/7, unfortunately. And what we tend to do with difficult emotions is we react. We might lash out. We might behave in ways that aren't really aligned with the person that we'd like to be or who we're becoming through our healing journey or our mindfulness journey, our growth experience. We tend to disassociate a lot, and especially we get out of our emotions by getting into our heads and into our thoughts a lot. We lean on substances sometimes to lessen the effects of our emotions. And we seek comfort in these different ways that, again, may not be serving your highest good or the person that you're trying to become. So learning the skill of mindfulness as it applies to being with these more difficult, heavy, and sometimes uncomfortable emotions can really change the game for you. We talked about earlier, mindfulness of the body and mindfulness of the breath. It's all connected. And this particular practice and today, is all about how do we not learn how to use mindfulness so we're not swept away in the tornado of a difficult moment, and how do we create more restful, calm, accepting space for those moments, for those emotions that come up in those moments that are particularly difficult. So it's about creating space. It's about learning how to be with the emotion and not get taken away by it. And a lot of that can actually help dissipate the charge of those emotions right away, along with somatic practices as well. So let's get into our little discussion here, and then we'll do a 20-minute practice. And then if anybody has any questions at the end, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Okay, so mindfulness of emotions. When is the last time, if you can think of a time, that you were completely carried away by your feelings? It could be feelings of anger, feelings of fear, worry, anxiety, feelings of sadness, of grief. And I want you to remember kind of what that feels like, being swept away in the storm of difficult emotions, right? It's really uncomfortable and sometimes a little bit scary. And emotions are a part of our life, right? We have the good, the bad, the ugly, but mindfulness can really help us navigate these tough emotions in a way that feels empowering and almost even liberating. And that's exactly what we're here to explore today. So, with the basics, what is mindfulness of emotions, right? Mindfulness in general is about paying attention to the present moment on purpose, with a sense of openness and curiosity and without judgment. Okay, so I'll say that again. Mindfulness in general is all about paying attention to the present moment on purpose, with a sense of openness and curiosity and without judgment. And when we apply this to our emotions, it means being aware of our feelings as they come up, being aware, noticing them without reacting immediately, and giving ourselves space to feel what we're feeling without getting swept away. Think of your emotions kind of like waves in the ocean. Sometimes they're really gentle and calm, and other times they're more like a tsunami. But just like the waves, emotions will come and go. And mindfulness is learning how to surf those emotional waves, staying balanced and riding them out without getting knocked over. And there's a really famous mindfulness practitioner, an expert. His name is John Kabat-Zinn. And he has wonderful books if you're interested in learning more about mindfulness and these practices. And he says you can't stop the waves, but you can definitely learn to surf. And I like to think about that often when difficult emotions come up. knowing that they're not permanent, but that they are a storm in the ocean, and I'm going to stay above it and kind of not get dragged down by them if I can. And that's really what mindfulness of emotions is all about, learning to surf these emotional waves with awareness and with grace. So I'll share a little story with you to kind of illustrate some of what I'm talking about. Um, so imagine like two people, let's call them Alex and Jamie. They both have a really rough day at work. There's a lots of stress. There's maybe a few harsh words from their boss, maybe a long list of tasks that they just couldn't finish and get to, and just a lot of stress in general. So let's say Alex comes home, and the minute that she walks through the door, she's snapping at her partner. She's super irritable, and she ends up spending the whole evening in a really terrible mood. On the other hand, Jamie will take a different approach. She notices that she's feeling frustrated and anxious and stressed. And so she pauses and she takes a deep breath and she just sits with those feelings for a minute instead of lashing out. She can acknowledge the emotions, that they're there, they're bubbling inside, they're existing without any kind of judgment. She's not judging herself. She's not, creating a story around the emotions. She's just noticing, just observing. And then she chooses, instead of lashing out like Alex, to go for a walk, because that kind of clears her feelings, her head, grounds her, and makes her feels good. And now, who do you think had a better evening? Right? Probably Jamie, because she was mindful of her emotions and she was able to create some space between feeling and reacting. And that's what that mindfulness is. It's creating that space, that pause between feeling and reacting. And that's where a lot of empowerment and liberation lies. So she didn't deny the emotions or push them away. And that's a really important point. It's not about denying that you have strong feelings. It's not about pushing them down and ignoring that they exist. It's actually leaning into that. It's leaning into acknowledging that they're there, but noticing and being witness to them. And there's a great, I forget who like came up with this originally, but maybe Pema Chodron, but I don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. But there's this great concept of like emotions are your friends. We tend to think of the more complex, like uncomfortable emotions like fear or anger or grief, sadness. Like we tend to think of those like enemies because they're uncomfortable to feel. But really, all of your emotions are normal and they are not bad. They're there to give you information about where you are in any given moment. It's data, it's information. And there's this kind of way of thinking about it, like think of emotions, especially difficult, heavy emotions, as old friends. And when they come to your door, open your door and invite them in for tea and comfort and listen to what they have to say. And I really love that. It's just like a really nice, soft way of approaching these really heavy and sometimes uncomfortable feelings that we have, responses to very legitimate responses to things that are happening in our life. So invite your emotions in, invite those difficult feelings in for tea and for comfort, and just let them share what they're here to share with you about what's going on for you. So mindfulness can help us deal with difficult emotions because when we're hit with something intense, our natural reaction is often to fight it, avoid it, or be overwhelmed by it. We tense up, we push it away, we fight it, we say we don't want to feel these feelings. And that actually exacerbates the feeling even more. It makes it worse. Accepting it and acknowledging those feelings and being able to create awareness around them actually helps make you feel better. Leaning in will help you make you feel better versus fighting it or pushing it away. And mindfulness allows us to walk that different path. It allows us to be with these emotions and sit with them without getting sucked into the drama. And when we're mindful of emotions, we can see them for what they are. And this is really important. They are temporary experiences that come and go. They're not permanent. And this awareness can really reduce the intensity of our emotions and give us a better sense of control. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can really respond thoughtfully, which is, like I said, a total game changer. So you're like waves in the ocean, right? Like emotions come and go. They come and go. Just learning how to sit with them is where the power is. So, a little bit of science behind mindfulness of emotions, because I love to give a little dose of science in all of these talks. So, it's really interesting. When we experience a difficult emotion, our brain's amygdala, which is the part responsible for our fight or flight response, gets activated. And this can make us feel like we're in danger, even if the threat is just an argument with a friend or a stressful day at work. But here's where mindfulness comes in. So, research shows that mindfulness can actually help calm the amygdala and reduce its reactivity. And there was a study done by Britta Holtzel at Massachusetts General Hospital that found that mindfulness meditation can decrease the density of the amygdala and increase the thickness of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's involved in regulating emotions and decision making and self control. So when we practice mindfulness, we're essentially training our brain, like going to the gym for our brain, training it to respond to emotions in a more balanced and thoughtful way. We're building up our emotional resilience as well, so we can really handle all of these ups and downs with a lot more ease. So suddenly, those feelings, the feelings that you're having, have less intensity, and we can tolerate more, and we can be with more, and we can also be more thoughtful about how we respond to them. And there was another study by a man named Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and they found that mindfulness practice regularly can increase activity in the left prefrontal cortex, which is associated with actually positive emotions and well-being. So this means that by being mindful of difficult emotions, we're not just reducing those negative feelings, we're also learning how to cultivate positive ones. So we're actively working on the part of our brain that helps us grow, into more positive experiences more regularly. So really, like, mindfulness, I always say, is just like going to the gym, like practicing it consistently, like 10 minutes a day can have huge effects on how you experience and feel about life, about yourself, about what's going on for you. And it's not super hard to do. It just takes commitment. So there's another metaphor that I really like, and it's like imagining your mind as kind of a snow globe. This is kind of a snow globe metaphor, right? And so if you think of your mind as a snow globe, when you shake it up, these snowflakes, which are like your thoughts and feelings, they swirl around, right? And it's really hard to see clearly. But when you put that down and you let it sit, the snowflakes will settle and the scene inside becomes clear, meaning that you can really see through it and see what's inside there. It's not being clouded by all of those thoughts and emotions, right? So that's exactly what the mindfulness of emotions practice is. When we stop shaking things up by reacting impulsively or trying to fight those feelings, we give our emotions the space to settle. And this clarity allows us to see the situation more objectively and respond in a way that's really aligned with our true intentions. And, I do want to acknowledge that, like, sometimes it can be really hard to sit with difficult emotions. It's not an easy thing. Mindfulness in this area is a practice for a reason, right? It can be really challenging, especially when we're dealing with very intense feelings of anger or sadness or worry. But that's completely okay. And it's something everybody experiences. One of the reasons it's so tough is that we are actually hardwired to avoid discomfort. So our brain and nervous system, they are hardwired to avoid at all costs any kind of discomfort, pain, because it's all viewed as a threat to potentially a threat to survival, right? Our brains are built to protect us from pain. So when something feels uncomfortable, our instinct is to really escape it. And the funny thing about the way our brain processes emotion is that our brain cannot tell the difference between two things. It cannot tell the difference between emotional pain and physical pain. So it registers intense emotions at the same as being stabbed with a knife, right? So that's number one thing to consider. Number two is that it cannot tell the difference between fantasy and reality. It cannot tell the difference between fantasy and reality. And why is this so important, right? Because that's where the thoughts and the quality of thoughts that you're having can increase the emotional experience, right? If you're thinking, you're going down kind of a dark place, a dark rabbit hole, that's going to continue to send messages to your brain that you're not safe, that you're in pain, that you're experiencing something that is very, very uncomfortable. And it'll increase the sensation of the emotion, right? So it makes it worse. So there's another famous meditation teacher, Pema Chodron. I love her. I'm a big stan. And she says, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. So nothing ever goes away unless it has taught us what we need to know. So when we allow ourselves to be with our difficult emotions, we're opening ourselves up to the lessons that they have to offer. We're learning about ourselves. We're learning about our triggers. We are learning about how we can grow from these experiences because, like I mentioned in the beginning, emotions are data points. You cannot like change your emotions in terms of like, I mean, you can do things to help yourself feel better, of course, but like your emotions fundamentally are there instinctively to tell you something about yourself, about what's going on for you. Okay. So when your emotions are there, right, and they're very present, if you can create some space and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? How is this, you know, like, what am I feeling right now? Kind of being with that. And then kind of asking yourself, like, what is this here to teach me? It's here to teach me that I don't like something, or it's here to teach me that this person in my life is really causing me anger or frustration, or it's here to tell me that maybe I need a little bit more self-compassion and permission to be a human being who makes mistakes, you know? So asking what you can learn from these emotions is another really powerful way of working with them. So before we're going to jump into our practice in just a moment. And if you guys have any questions about any of this, please let me know at the end. There's a great poet, Rumi. I don't know if you guys have heard of this poet. And they write, the wound is the place where the light enters you. So our difficult emotions, though they're challenging, they're also beautiful opportunities for growth and for healing. And through mindfulness, we can really embrace these emotions and allow them to transform us in very meaningful ways. So thank you for letting me speak on this. Okay, so if you would like to, you can, for our practice, you can sit or you can lay down. Either is totally fine. Whatever your body is calling for you to do right now, whatever position feels the most comfortable. Okay. And just take a couple of deep breaths once you're in that position. And you can close your eyes if it feels comfortable, or you can leave them open with a soft gaze. So let's take 3 really nice, beautiful, deep belly breaths in through the stomach or in through the nose and into your belly, and then out through your mouth. Really allowing any stress or tension to leave the body out through the exhale. And then once you have taken the deep breaths and you feel like you're a little bit more settled, you can go ahead and return to a normal breath. And just focusing on the inhale, feeling the expansion in your body of the breath, and the exhale, contracting, leaving the body. Now, for this practice, I encourage you to just be with whatever emotions are there for you presently, whether they're good, positive emotions, or even if they're a little bit heavy, but just whatever is present for you at this moment, I want you to work with. So as you allow your body to really sink in and relax, want you to bring your awareness to whatever feelings you're having in this moment. Can you identify what the feelings or emotions are without judging? And just noticing how the emotion shows up for you through sensations in your body. Is there a specific location where this emotion is living? With this feeling, is there any kind of tightness or tingling? Or maybe if it's a positive emotion, there's some feelings of relaxation or expansion. Just observing as if you are observing your emotion from a distance. And going in further, can you bring your awareness to the places or place in your body where you feel this emotion the most? And notice if there's a color that comes up, or a texture, or a shape. With every breath, imagine creating openness, space, and just really giving permission for this emotion, whatever it might be, to take up space in the body and to exist. You can even remind yourself that you are safe, that you are held and supported, as you just allow this feeling to exist without any judgment or resistance. Notice if you are experiencing something heavy or difficult. The body wants to release through tears or movement or noise. Just really giving yourself full permission to let the body do what it needs to do. Now, for the next 2 minutes, I'm not going to say anything, and I just want you guys to sit with the experience of whatever emotion is most present for you. Really beautiful, beautiful work, you guys. And now I want you to go a little deeper here. And I want you to ask yourself or ask the emotion directly, what is it here to show you or to teach you? What is the lesson? And be with that for just a moment. Just stay with this here. Tapping into your heart space and feeling almost an overwhelming flow of love coming through your heart and circulating throughout your body, through your arms, your torso, your legs, your belly, your throat, your face, and your head. Filling up every available space with love energy. And maybe bringing a smile to your face. Noticing that even just smiling has an immediate effect on how you feel. And finally, just offer yourself a little compassion. You're doing a really great job. You're figuring things out. You're growing and learning. You're a full human being, and you're doing the best that you can, given whatever circumstances you're experiencing. And let's take a nice deep breath in together. Let's hold that at the top. And long exhale. Let it go. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers and your toes, gently coming back into your body, back into the space. And very lastly, when you're ready, you can open your eyes nice and gently. And if you're craving a little stretch or a movement, feel free to take that. Amazing. So we have a few minutes. If there are any kind of questions or anything you want to share, you can chat, type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. This was a very powerful thing that I learned in the way beginning of my mindfulness meditation journey. And I had chronic debilitating depression and anxiety, and it was really ruling my life. And then the frustration of not being able to, through years of talk therapy, right? Like not being able to really feel much improvement because I was still going through those cycles led to a lot of like anger and resentment. And so anger, anxiety, depression, these were all really present in my life, and it made it very hard to function, let alone enjoy my life. And when I started doing this and allowing for space with non-judgment for these feelings to exist, seeing them as friends, not as enemies, right? and not pushing them away, which makes them worse, just kind of bringing them in and inviting them in, my depression went away. Like it really dissipated. And to this day, I'll have moments where I go through really heavy things and I definitely feel it and I definitely go through those experiences, but it doesn't take me out the way that it used to. And I'm much more able to ride the waves and not get sucked into it, into a place where I can't, I'm in freeze, I'm in collapse. Um, so just kind of a personal example of what this kind of practice can do for you. You're so welcome, Nisha. So this is recorded. It will be available along with the other practices in Chelsea's Chrysalis space. I don't know how they get, how if they're not in your group, how they get access to that.
Yeah, I can put the link here. It's a free community platform, and I know Caitlin is already in it. But Nisha, if you want to be in it, I can put it here, and then you'll see I'll put it in the chat, and then you can see the mindfulness series.
Yeah, Nisha, definitely check it out. I know you her personally, so I think it would be great for you to be a part of this community. And there's so many different workshops and fun events and things that you guys do in there. It's just a wonderful space. Yeah, and if anybody would like to reach out to me, let me know. If you have any questions, you can always DM me. I'm always open to responding. And yeah, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add, Chelsea, but that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah, Gabby, thank you so much for doing this entire series. This is so, so
Yeah.
supportive. Definitely the mindfulness of emotions and the nervous system regulation are so important. And yeah, and for Nisha and even Gabby, if you want, we have a bunch of free masterclasses from like many, mmany coaches in here. Some of them
Oh
are on
yeah.
relationships, some of them are on sexuality, some of them are on um, you know, like living in the quantum. We have a few different, we have a workshop called The Alchemy of Emotion. So, Gabby, that's also available for you if you ever wanted to go in there.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, we have many different free master classes and workshops and things like that. So, yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And I'm so excited that you're getting your certification.
Yeah, finally. Well, this is like I have other ones in mindfulness, but this is like the big daddy of them all. Like I feel definitely like this was the deepest I've ever gone into learning about all of this, and I'm so excited to be able to say I worked with Jack Cornfield and Tara Brock and learned from them. So thank you.
Beautiful. And thank you, Nisha and Caitlin, and for everyone else who's joined the series over the last week or so or in the recordings. Thank you so much for being present. And if you want to reach out, it's Gabby Ortega on Instagram. You can connect with her, ask her questions, go deeper,
Yeah,
learn from her. She has such amazing content on her Instagram as well.
thank you. Yeah, for sure. And thank you guys for being here.
Yay! Can we all, uh, if you're available for it, rub your hands together and just send Gabby some love and an ashtray.
Okay.
Same to you guys. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.